Hey, it's Stephanie with Step Shanks Photography. And if you follow me, you know that I embrace change. I love talking about change. And I love being honest and real because I think that's how we heal. And being able to tell our story is not only healing, but it also inspires others. So today I have Lisa Newberry here.
Yeah.
And hello. She and I are going to chat about all the big changes she's made. And right before we started the podcast, we were just chatting about how sometimes when you make that one big leap, then you just don't stop and life just opens up. So I'm really excited to hear your journey. So please introduce yourself.
Well, I am Lisa Newberry, and I am really, really close to being an art therapist. I'm just waiting on the one piece of paper that says I'm official. But I graduated with a master's in art therapy in May, and I was a pastor for 20 years in the Presbyterian Church, and I loved that. And that was a big part of my life and identity, even bigger than I realized, I think, as I've switched careers.
I want to know when you were in the church, that had to have been what made you decide to do that in the first place? Because there isn't a lot of women doing that. So kind
Yeah.
of tell me how that all started, because even from the get-go, you must have been a rule breaker a little bit or a challenger.
A little. I think I started really young wanting to be a pastor. When I was little, I had an awesome home church. And what I understood about work, like as an elementary age student, was that you had to spend a bunch of hours somewhere. And so you might as well be around cool people and doing something cool. And I thought, well, I love my church friends and the pastor's a nice guy and I want to change the world. So I'll be a pastor. I went to seminary in Chicago, loved that, and then entered the pastorate. And it's hard. It's a hard call. We call it a call and not a job. Um, and yeah, for 20 years I did that. I served in Illinois and I served here in Baraboo and in Reedsburg. But I think over time my call started to feel like it was changing. Some through life circumstance. I was married and then divorced, and my ex-husband passed away. I moved up here after that with my son, got remarried. I have 3 kids, 1 bonus kid. And so family dynamics change what that means, I think. Also, like so many people who work with people, COVID really pushed me to be a different pastor, a very different pastor, very quickly. And I think when church went back to normal, it was a little hard for me to fit my square self back into that round hole. And so I just knew that it was time for a change. And when I looked at what I had always enjoyed doing throughout my whole life, art and creativity was it. I have made jewelry since I was little. I love to cook. I love to garden. But I've also always really believed that that God's the creator. You start at the Bible, page 1, God made everything. And so I always sensed myself and my identity as a pastor is like, how can we recreate ourselves? How can we really be the people that God intended us to be? And for me, that's people full of love and compassion and kindness and grace and forgiveness, and then passing that on. So when I learned about art therapy, it was just like a natural next step. It was like this great big neon sign, Lisa, go this way. This was made for you, because you don't have to be a good artist. I don't consider myself certainly not a 2D artist, but it's a process, not product. So really is about the process of creation and what that can do inside of you. But it was really hard. It was hard. So I had 20 years in. I had a master's degree. I have a pension. I had insurance. I have a family. I think for me, giving up security was the hardest piece of taking that last step. I felt like a bad parent or a bad spouse if I gave up like everything that supported my family just for this crazy dream. And I wasn't like super unhappy. I wasn't poorly treated. It's not like I was in a place where I was miserable. And so to make a change just to be more happy and just to do what I liked, maybe even better, seemed a little bit selfish at the time. But I'm so grateful I did it, because that was my growth. That was what I was created into, what I'd grown into. I think the people around me, it's hard. Everybody's happy for you until you actually make the leap. Everybody loves the idea of you doing something new, and family loves the idea of you being happier until you're not home to make dinner and your paycheck doesn't come through the door and we have to search for new health insurance. And so I was a little caught off guard that sometimes those closest to me felt the lack of security maybe even more strongly than I did, and weren't always 100% on board with this big change. They too were nervous about the future, but I just had to keep telling myself and then telling everyone around me it was going to be okay. It just felt too good to be the wrong path. And so I did. I took the leap. And I think one of the biggest surprises that I found in the process, when I was mentally calculating, okay, I'm 42, so school costs this much. If I make this much, I will see school back before I retire. There's all those financial pieces. And I sort of looked at, and we have dogs. I sort of looked at school time, the 2 years, as like neutral, or not a waste, but like I didn't expect to be getting anything out of that time. I thought I just had to put those in and then I would get to the meaningful part. And as it turned out, the breadth of art therapy is astonishing to me. It took me a long time. I kept saying to my professors, okay, but what is it? Like, what is the thing? Like, what's the formula? What's the, and they kept not telling me. And it was so annoying. They're like, you'll see. And it took me a long time to see it is the process. It is the schooling. It is the meeting with people. It is the interaction and the way that you change. It's not a thing. It's not a formula. It's nothing you can encapsulate exactly. And once I caught that, then really, I think, is when the world opened up for me. When I saw that, like, you and I could be at the coffee shop and we could open up a bunch of packets of sugar on the table and do art therapy just right there in the sugar. You can do it anywhere with anything. It's an intention to create and an intention to look inwards and an intention to be led towards healing. And so it's just really a beautiful process and I love it. And those 2 years really turned out to be incredibly formative, and I learned so much and I healed and became so much more whole in and of myself, that now I really am ready to go out and keep doing this.
So it's just like they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Oh, it's so true. Some cliches are so true.
I know, silly quotes.
Yep. And I think it continues to be the journey. So right now, I guess I alluded to earlier, I'm in a little bit of holding pattern. There's, of course, some bureaucratic paperwork that has to happen before you July 3. Just okay, since you're working with people. But even in this interim time, I've had the opportunity to continue to learn, to run some therapeutic art groups on my own, which has just been great. To be able to listen to people's stories and hear their needs, maybe some that are spoken and some that I hear between their words, and to work with them on that. I have conquered some of my big fears. You helped me do one of those. Despite the fact that I love myself and I'm super vibrant and really enjoy being me, I am a stress eater. We all have our coping skills. And so having put on some weight, I was really nervous about me. And as I get to this point in a little bit more normal profession, I need some more normal things. You don't need headshots in church, but you do in the real world. And so doing that with you was super powerful experience for me. And it really was part of the journey, because at first I thought, suck it up. You want to try and publish something. You need this headshot, like just go, grin, bear it, do it. And sitting with you, you were a good reminder to recreate my thought patterns and love for myself, just like I would tell anyone else to do. And so all these little opportunities have come to me since I have a little bit more time that wouldn't probably have come to me a year ago because I was just so busy with school.
When you were going to school and even before that, what was something, because I do feel like as we heal, we return to our selves, right? Our child self, that inner child, whatever you want to call it. What was something that you returned back to that you'd forgotten about yourself?
So I have two things. One really powerful piece of advice that I got years ago that came back to me really strongly as I started this transition was a friend of mine. I was having coffee with her and she said, when you're looking for a new direction, when you're looking for something different in your life, you should think back to what used to make you happy as a child. Because so often we look back to our childhood as a place of where did it all start? Where did, bad things or bad traits creep in? But actually, that innocence and that joy and that creativity we had before it was sort of unspoiled by the world can be a real leaping place. And so I think that's the point where I actually started to take my creativity seriously. I always thought, oh, I'm creative, but that's not really an important trait, right? It's better to be smart or academic or maternal or who knows what all, successful. And at that moment, I thought, I'm creative my whole life. I am allowed to take this seriously. And that has made me such a happier person. I turned my jewelry into a small side hustle, which just made me proud. But also, like, now I do draw. Now I do little sculptures, not selling them, not doing anything with them. It just makes me happy to do. So embracing my own creativity has really been finding a piece of myself that I always shoved down, I think. Also, during this journey, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And I think finally embracing that and saying, you know what? I am the person that does things last minute. It works for me. I don't have to be apologetic. I don't have to pretend I'm going to start something 4 weeks in advance. Nope, I will be up the night before, but it will be a fabulous product. Like, it's okay. I'm built the way I'm built, and it's okay to operate the way I'm meant to operate. And getting rid of all the shoulds, you should do things this way, you should do things that way, that I don't do. You found out today, for whatever reason, I am never on time. I need to be on time. I think of myself as an on-time person. Just am not. So sometimes I warn people about that. Sometimes I tell myself things are 15 minutes earlier,
I have a
just
friend that does
really,
that.
yeah,
She has ADHD
embracing
too.
who I am. Yeah. Not being ashamed of it anymore has
Yeah.
been so freeing. Like, it's okay. There's all sorts of ways to be in this world. And the troublesome traits, like, I'm not sure being a last minute person is really that bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. So I
Um,
just,
I have a question then, because we're talking about, oh, I'm bad because XYZ. Do you remember a
yeah.
time in your life where you were reprimanded or felt that badness about being you that kind of made you try to click into normal society or
Yes. Oh, so many. Um, yes. I think there's a lot of little ways every day that happens to us, right? Like little looks and little, oh, she's probably not ready yet, or oh, you better tell her. First answer that comes to my mind is when I was dating. I mean, it's so hard when you're out there getting to know other people and they make such assumptions about you based on such small information. And I just remember a lot of times thinking, oh, I work Sundays. Yeah, that's not going to be attractive. Oh, yeah, I get called in the evenings a lot. Yeah, nobody's ever going to want this. Yeah, nobody's ever going to want that. And it turned out I could have given myself a lot of grace back then, too, because, yeah, the wrong person, it wasn't a good fit. So many things are not really morality. I've learned a lot of things are not really like morality based that I used to really shame myself about. Um, I noticed when I'd have babysitters over to the house, I would always say, oh, next time you come, the house will be clean. Next time you come, the house will be clean. And like after about 3 years of saying that, I had to think maybe the house is just never going to be clean. Maybe there's always going to be dishes. And it's a relatively new idea by an author, and I can't pull up her name right now, who said, like, housework isn't a morality issue, right? Like, your house serves you. I mean, it shouldn't be horrible with children within common sense boundaries, but like, it's not an issue of morality if you have dishes in your sink. And that has been super freeing to me because people that judged me based on my house, people that judged me, I wear such colorful things now. I have dyed my hair blue. Like, all those sort of creative bits and colorful bits, I used to get a lot of shame for it, a lot of looks and a lot of, did you see what she's wearing today? It's okay. It's just her. And trying to fit in with mainline. You don't, you don't want to anymore. I just don't care. And it feels great just in the sense that I don't worry about that part of my life anymore. It's not even that I'm particularly loved or I'm tied to this particular shirt. I don't care. It's comfy, it fits, it makes me happy. If it doesn't tomorrow, I'll pitch it. Not worrying about, yeah, yes, that's right. Not worrying about what other people think is like, again, another cliche that's true, giving up the weight of other people's opinions is so freeing and is what I would tell anyone else to do. I think that's been one of the big learnings of this journey for me is to be a good therapist, pastor, wife, mother, human, you have to take my own advice seriously. For 22 years, I've been telling people this stuff doesn't matter. Be you, be compassionate, be who you were created to be. And I never took that advice for myself. And I caused myself a lot of shame and pain over the years that I've really had to heal from, and I'm still healing from. A lot of really deep pain, just pretty much by not doing what I knew was true. And that's, one of the things I hope my kids don't have to learn the same way I did. Just when you know something is good and true and self-loving, take it for yourself too. You deserve that.
I think that, when you switch over from giving other people advice based on what you wish you knew, and you start really living that life and embodying that, people treat you differently as well. So if you're coming from a place of pain, or lack, scarcity, okay, you're beautiful. I wish somebody would tell me I'm beautiful. So I'm going to tell you that. It's not as authentic of like, you know what? I love myself. I wake up in the morning and my house isn't clean and the dog needs to go outside, whatever. But I love myself. And people are drawn to that. That's why I'm drawn to you now versus probably 5 years ago, because we're in that same vibration where we're both on a similar, different path, but similar path of just like not only finding ourselves, but expressing ourselves and wanting to share this healing process with other people.
And don't you find it's like, it's so simple and it's so hard? Like, saying yes to loving yourself. Okay, I did it. But throughout the day, there's all these there's like, I stub my toes still in all these little things. I'm like, I got to heal that. I got to work on that. That wasn't a very nice thing to say to myself, and then slowly, we do better and better. But yeah, it's hard. Some of those voices are really tucked deeply in there and come out, I will often say there's a middle schooler in each of us that's just stuck so far in there. It's really hard. They do surface, but yeah, I love my life now. I love, and it's not necessarily easy. We have 3 dogs and 3 kids. We have a blended family and, the same, and 3 lizards. Yep. I'm looking at them now. I have 2 teens that are both doing their own things and becoming themselves, some in easy ways and some in hard. Work is still work. Paperwork is still paperwork. There's all sorts of hard things, but now they just all seem now happiness always seems possible. Um, Even if the worst things happen around us, I just feel like internally I am so much calmer and so much more confident that I will deal with whatever happens. I've dealt with hard things. I've dealt with plenty of hard things and gotten through them and gotten through them well. And having that inner confidence has really just taken a lot of stress out of life, out of my stomach. You know, that internal broken record. And it took a long time to embrace that, which is funny because other people look at, like I was telling you, my mom said, "Oh, you've done a lot of cool things. You know, which one are you going to talk about?" And I thought, oh, that's a nice thing to say. I don't see myself that way. I don't think I've lived, a particularly perfect or interesting life. Um, so often other people see it in us first, and we really have to see it in ourselves.
Yeah. I see it in you.
Thank you. And I see it in
So
me now too.
uh,
9 days out of 10.
I want to wrap this up in about 5 or 6 minutes. So tell me where you see yourself in 2 years. What's the next? What's your goals, or what's the next thing for Lisa?
Well, I am super excited about the place I will be working, the agency I'll be working through. In addition to that, I would really like to start like a drop-in center for art therapy. Baraboo is such an arts town. I think it's a unique place that there's a real openness to this idea that art can be powerful in internally creating. And I would like to have a space where kids and adults alike are just welcome to come and create and to talk and to meet each other. And I would like to find some healing and safety in that space. That's my real goal, is to find a little piece of Baraboo that I can just have a studio that anyone who wants can come hang out and do some guided work. Not, it's awesome to do just creativity and open creativity. I also do think that I have something to offer as far as guidance and looking at life. Maybe I describe therapy as like having someone with you to turn over the rock to see like what bugs are underneath it because you're too afraid to look by yourself. I would like to be there to help people turn over their rocks and say, oh, it's bad, and we can deal with those ants. I thought they were going to be scorpions,
Mm-hmm.
But that is one of my goals, is just to have a place that people can come.
It's kind of like a compilation of your old life and your new life.
At one point I had wanted to, and who knows, maybe I wanted to start an art church, which would be interfaith, interdenominational, and which would only have art and music, that would be our worship, that there would be a guided set of activities and music and sharing if you'd like, and that really is spiritual healing. So who knows, maybe art church coming to a town near you too.
And if people wanted to find you and talk with you and follow you, where's the best place to do that?
So right now, the best place is on Facebook with either Lisa Newberry or The Jewelry Box is my jewelry Facebook page. I think since I now have this super cool 30-second art therapy introduction, thanks to you and Faith, one of my next goals for myself is to start up a little website and see if I can. For the last 2 years, I've been running intermittent therapeutic art classes here in Baraboo, and I'd like to maybe take that a little more seriously and turn it into a regular event. So we'll see. Maybe a website, but right now, Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds amazing. Like, I'm excited to see where you land in the next couple of years and follow you because, yeah, I feel like you're just coming into your power in your 40s and like the world needs you.
There is something about being a little older that you've gone through stuff and you just don't care about the little stuff anymore. There is a certain, stuff comes and goes and breaks and unbreaks, and it's all good. I'm not getting stuck in places I used to get stuck anymore.
Yeah. Another saying, don't get your panties in a bunch, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry.
That's what we to publish a book of true cliches. Maybe that'll be an art therapy exercise.
Yeah, no kidding. The things we've told ourselves and the things that are true and the things that aren't and all that stuff. So, okay. Well, thank you very much for
Thank you.
being on my first podcast.